the quote, I'm not a big fan of Beyonce, but I was a dancer, so I kind of am. The quote, you have the same amount of hours in a day as Beyonce, that always runs through my head.
I don't agree.
Really?
I don't agree with that. Because
really? Interesting.
Your time, this is actually, I feel very strongly about this, because let's say that we're talking to someone who has a car, has a job, and every day they wake up 7 o'clock, go to work, get home at 5. That is a different amount of time that they have than someone who has to take the bus, because they have to add in the time that it takes for them to get on the bus, all of the stops that it takes to get to work, all the stops it takes to get home. Plus, how are they getting from the bus stop home? Are they walking? So by the time they get home, it might not be till 7:30. So in reality, the time of the day that we have compared to Beyonce, honestly, Beyonce has people to do things for her. We don't. And, taking it back, we might have a certain amount of time in the day, but people who might not have what we have, they don't. And so I feel like it's actually super harmful to say, not you specifically, but just because I see it on Facebook all the time, saying that we all collectively as humans have the same amount of time. My time, even though I work a trillion jobs, is different than the time that my friends with kids have, because wrangling 3 children into a car, takes more time than just me hopping in the car. If I have to be somewhere at 9 o'clock, I can leave at 8:50 and make it there on time. As opposed to my friend who wakes up at 5:45 every morning, gets herself ready, wakes her kids up, gets them ready, gets them fed, etc., to start off her day. So in reality, we don't really have the same time as everyone else in a day. If I'm making sense.
I see what you're saying, but I mean, I didn't have my car in Chicago at first, so I understand the whole bus thing, and I think we do have the same amount of time. It's just how we spend our time. What are you doing on that bus stop? Are you scheduling posts, if you're passionate with social media, you know what I mean? And I understand that kids take a long time, but, it's just how you spend your day, what time you wake up, things like that.
I was going to make the same point.
Yeah.
I think the point Kabeji makes is so valid, and it's a testament to the difference between people who are disadvantaged and impoverished not having the same time of the day. But what you said, what are you doing on the bus? Are you reading? Are you networking? Are you doing something to better yourself? And as someone who has kids, I wasn't listening to Sarah go, well, of course you can do all that because you don't have kids. Because it's a mindset thing. The Beyonce quote is a mindset thing, I think. And it really is about, what are your priorities?
That's what I was going to chip in. I feel to me, it's about priorities as opposed to, physically, truly...
Resources.
Yeah. But I do think both of those things really do tie in a lot of ways. Because I look at, Andrea and Jesse and I, we do have kids. The two of you are not at that stage yet where you don't have kids. But at the same time, I'm different because I'm a single mom. So I don't have the spousal support or someone. And yet, I still make time to somehow launch a podcast. We start a collective and I still run a marketing firm. So sometimes when it comes to that quote, I think about it as priorities where I'm there's times that I'm I could be... sitting and watching TV, or I'm you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go ahead and jot down a couple things that I want to achieve this month and start kind of back playing it as to what do I need to do if I want to hit those goals? What time is it going to take? Or, a lot of times I take Jack to Elevate, him and his buddy go to the trampoline park. Well, that's
you're being a cool mom and you're getting work done.
Exactly. He's happy. He gets to go do something. And then I'm you know what? I'm going to take my computer with me and I'm going to work while I'm there. I'm going to work ahead and stuff. So that's what my take on it is, that it really is just about what you are prioritizing during the time that you're given. Yeah.
Also, to be fair, we are saying this as two people who have the resources to make those choices.
Yeah.
And that hasn't always been the case for me, especially not having a car, not having a license, having to work 40 plus hours and going to college, because I've lived that life. I've walked that path. I did not like it. I was this is not what I want. Same thing with hitting the jackpot at 23 and getting a job that paid all my bills and made me miserable. This is not what I want to be doing. So it's hard when you're in that place of feeling you don't have choices, hearing we have the same hours in the day. What's the problem? how that would be hurtful to hear.
Yeah.
But also I think that the type of person who's like aspiring and they want better for their lives, they're going to find a way to take little baby steps and bite off little chunks to do something for self-improvement too.
Yeah. I guess what I would say to that person is just take away what points speak to you from what we're saying and apply it to your life in the way that it best applies. So you know, it doesn't all have to apply to your life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you have kids, obviously it's going to be a little different than me, or if you don't have enough money to hire on an assistant just yet, it's going to be a little different than Cassie, but you know, it's...
And that's what I was thinking about, because, you know, I started my business in 2005. You didn't, you know, I didn't start getting the employees and stuff like that till 2020. So for 15 years, it was hustle and grind. And like, that I think is the thing that I look at, whether you are in an established career, whether you're finding yourself, whether you're in school trying to determine even what you want to do, or whether a degree is even necessary for the life you want to live. I think that ultimately it comes down to like, there's a lot of behind the scenes hustle and a lot of behind the scenes being miserable that happens before you get to a point where you're like, okay, like they're growing pains, I guess, more or less, where it's like you don't just walk in and all of a sudden someone's like, oh, here's your perfect everything, your perfect job, your perfect house. No, like it's just not that way. It's not a realistic perspective.
I think maybe 5 people knew I was homeless last year. I spent almost all of 2020 homeless until I pulled myself out of that. So nobody sees that stuff.
Yeah.
And don't look at people who are successful or who are working towards being successful and think that they don't have it hard just because they're not showing it. I've had it hard. You know, we've all 5 of us here that are sitting here have had it hard. But it's just how you handle that hard and where you go with it and what you do with it.